Welcome to the Get Organized HQ podcast. I'm your host, Tasha Lawrence. Every week, we share practical strategies for less stress and more peace as we dive into all topics life and home organization. I'm so glad you're here for this week's episode. Whenever I bring a guest onto the Get Organized HQ podcast, I ask them to walk me through a day in their life. And we've had all sorts of people come and share their story here on this podcast over the last several months. And I wanted you to get a little bit of time to sit down and get to know Laura and her life a little bit better. And I really think that this might surprise you. And some of the strategies that she implements and that she shares, she actually, at the end of this conversation, is going to share a kind of unusual thing that she's doing to keep herself accountable that she said she had no intention of publicly sharing, but here we are. She shared it all about how she handles the highs and lows of everyday life. I'm so glad you're here to listen in. Well, I've had a lot of guests on the Get Organized HQ podcast, but I wanted to bring Laura on, who I know so many of you already watch the Get Organized HQ YouTube channel and read the newsletters. And I thought this would be a fun opportunity for Laura to kind of share her day in the life. So, Laura, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, happy to be here.
Yes. So, all right. Let's just walk through a day in the life of Laura. I feel like people maybe who have watched your YouTube videos or been around Get Organized HQ for long, we have a good idea for, your principles of organizing and decluttering, the systems that you set up. But I want to talk about how that works its way into your day. So, just what are the components of a typical day in your life?
Well, for me, I would say it depends a lot on whether the kids are in school or not, because I have two school-age kids. So summers, breaks, weekends look very different than like school weekdays. And then I also am not actually that structured, which might surprise people. And that's kind of why I built some of these systems, is because I'm not someone who's like, we get up and we do this every day, and then we do this, and then we have, I like to be more, I don't know, less structured and more just a little bit free flowing, I guess. And so, yeah, so they all look different. In the school year, we have tried a lot of different things, but one of the things that we're doing now is having my husband take care of the mornings, because I, as we all know, am not a morning person. And I just cannot tell you the stress that comes with trying to get two children out the door for school when I'm also exhausted and just waking up and only half there myself. And it just eats a big chunk of my time, because I get up and on the days when I do get up and ready, well, then there's like trap time. I've got to be, getting them out. Then I got to take them to school, and then I come back and I can't really get started on anything. And so not having that responsibility has just frees me up to immediately get started. So like I get up, a lot of times I will go straight to the shower and get ready, but sometimes I will just come straight downstairs and start working. Like I'm not wasting time. Like we are getting down, like we're going to get things done. Now, what I'm not doing is talking. Like you don't want to talk to me in the first hour. But I can work. Like I can sit down and do things that involve thinking, or I can get ready or something like that. So I'm just getting, like, I do not want to interact and socialize in that first hour. So I'm doing something that just gets right, we're just diving in, we're getting started. That has worked so much better. And then because I do that, then I am responsible for most of the evening stuff, like picking them up from school, getting them food, taking care of them. My husband's still at work. A lot of times he'll work out or do something after that. So I'm more the person that does that. Also, I'm more of a night person. So if they have extra needs at night, after they go to bed, I'm usually, not always, but often the one that's like, taking care of that, because I'm just not that. Yeah, I'm more human at 9 p.m. than like 7 a.m.
Yeah, for sure. And I know just from things you've shared with me, can you talk a little bit about fighting or not fighting your sleep schedule? Because I think some people listening would resonate with that idea. I think it's easy to get the idea that we all need to be up by a certain time of day and firing on all cylinders. But I know this is something you've kind of wrestled with yourself. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Yeah. Okay. So about that is like, first of all, you read all these things online about the miracle morning or the 5 a.m. morning and about how the most productive people get up early. And I tend to be someone who, there's what I actually do and thrive on, and there's what I wish I was. So I wish I was one of these highly disciplined people who gets up at 5 a.m. every morning, goes straight to the gym while drinking their morning smoothie, works out, does, like I wish I were that person with that kind of structure. That actually looks nice. And that identity to me, I'm like, oh wow. So that's what I wish that I were. But I realize I could wish that all my life, but I'm never going to be that person. And even I have at times like forced myself to do that. Like you can force yourself to do things that are not really, your favorite. And I never thrived. Um, and especially about being a morning person. I mean, I had a like, a traditional job where you go into the office and I need to be there at a certain time every day. I think I left my house at like 6:30ish every day for about 6 or 7 years. And very little time off. I mean, I got the typical couple weeks or whatever, but like this is what I was doing for 6 years, and never ever did I get used to it. Because a lot of people say, well, you just got to try it and you'll get used to it. Nope, never. I was always miserable. It wasn't good. Nothing I did could get me used to it. So I just had to own that that is not how I thrive. And I mean, I thrive on about 11 to 7 or midnight to 8. Like, and even when I try to go to bed earlier, what do I end up doing? I end up staying awake for 2 hours and worrying about how I'm not going to sleep. And then, but if I don't fight it and I just own that, hey, I'm going to be going to bed at 11, so I may as well just get something done. And then I'm going to let myself sleep until 7 or 8, then everybody's happy. We're all doing well. And we don't always have that luxury. Like I said, I had a job where I needed to be there earlier and I managed, I did it. Did it go well? No. So if you do have the flexibility, why not just go ahead and, work with what you have? And when chronic illness entered the picture for me a few years ago, that also really affects things a lot because it starts to affect your sleep. And anyone who's dealt with that understands how that is just another complicating factor. So just putting some arbitrary, I need to be up at 5 a.m. to be a productive person on top of all that just doesn't really serve anyone.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, there are seasons where we have more control of that and seasons where we don't. So I definitely empathize with anyone who is saying, I'm just like that, but I still have, the 9 to 5, the 8 to 4 job and have to get up at this certain time. And yeah, like sometimes it's a matter of just doing the best that you can. If you got to get up at 6:30 and it's not your thing, the fact that you are doing it is in and of itself a success. Like it's okay if you don't find your rhythm. It's okay if it's not your ideal schedule because you're getting done what needs to be done. But if you have the flexibility, maybe try something different. Try what works for you. It's funny. I'm like the exact opposite. If it is after 8:30 and you ask me to do something, I am like, "Excuse me, like you are keeping me from my bed." Like, but my favorite time to work is like 5:30 to 7:30. Nobody else in the world is up. Like you don't get interrupted by anyone. It's quiet, it's dark, like the sun comes up and you're like, look at the things I already got done. But I mean, that means that when Laura's up at 10 o'clock at night and she's sending me messages on Slack, like, hey, what do you think of this thing? I am sleeping through them. So,
Yes. But then you're up early
yeah.
in the morning. So by the time I get up, you can answer them. And like when my kids were little, um, basically what I would do is I would put them to bed and they'd be to bed by like 7:30, 8, typical little kid schedule. And I would work from about 8 to midnight. And then I would just sleep right about until they got up at 8. That wasn't a problem. Like a lot of people say I need to be up before my kids. Now that might be the case, but when they were little, I didn't feel that at all because when they're little, it's just a different thing. And so we just got in a rhythm and it worked so well. And you know how everybody talks about how you have those quiet moments in the morning before the rest of the house? That was what I had at night. Like I just kind of thought of my day as starting at 8 p.m. So I was getting a head start from 8 because my brain is working so much better than it's going to work, and it wouldn't always be till midnight, maybe 11. But like for a while when we didn't have as much childcare and we had little kids, that worked super well because everything was quiet. I wasn't going to be interrupted and I could just like get like that focus work done. And I mean, I feel like, for those who don't have as much flexibility, I think you use whatever flexibility and resources you do have. Sometimes like I feel bad. I feel guilty. I'm like, well, maybe I should be getting up early and I should be the one, taking my kids to school. But I'm like, yes, I have this flexibility, but there's a lot of flexibility that other people have that I do not for various reasons. There's a lot of things that are just not, I don't have that. So like maybe you cannot, you wish you could sleep until 7, but you have to get up at whatever time you have to get up. But maybe you have the flexibility of, hiring someone to help clean your house, or maybe your husband is excellent at cooking and making meals, and you can just hand that off. And like, I don't know, they're like, use whatever resources you do have. Like sometimes I think I almost feel bad for taking advantages of whatever resources I have available.
Yeah. And I think the internet actually contributes to kind of making us feel bad for any sort of blessing that we might have. I mean, certainly be grateful for the opportunities that you have, and realize that not everyone has all of the same opportunities. But it's one of those things where it's almost like, oh, like if anyone knew, like, that I'm not the one who takes my kids to school in the morning, like, can you imagine the social media posts and all of the comments? Well, if it's what's working for your family and if your family is functioning best with it, then who cares what the social media comments would say, right? So, yeah, it's really just about finding what rhythm works for you. So, you mentioned earlier that you don't have a whole lot of structure necessarily from day to day. Like you're not necessarily the person who's going to be time blocking and saying, all right, every morning from, 9 to 10, I do my workout and 10 to this time, I do my emails. So how do you figure out what is getting done each day?
Okay, so we've talked about this a lot. The 3 bucket system is kind of what I came up with, because if you are someone who has not got like a ton of structure, then what you don't want to be doing is just always flying by the seat of your pants and not knowing what's going to get done. And so this is a way that I said, like, every day, here's like my top 3, and I need to get this done no matter what. So that prioritizing of like my top few things is really something that helps me make sure that I'm doing the important things, even with a little bit less structure. So I think that is one of the things. I mean, another thing that I is really helpful to me is I do have another like project management system, and I check it almost every day. So like for work, everything is in one system with due dates, and there's one view where I can look at everything that's assigned to me. And almost every day, I mean, there'll be a day or two might go by, but like I am not going months and not looking at this thing. So I look at it every day. And I also add, I mean, it's for work, but I'll add personal things in there that are really important. So, like, if I need to, I don't know, I mean, how you're gonna laugh at me. I always use the example of changing my air filter because I'm paranoid. Like one time, someone didn't do it that I know well, and it caused a lot of problems and it required extra maintenance. So I have this like fear of not getting it changed. And so, like, I will put things like that on there because I know that's where I'll look. And then it doesn't mean I do them all, but it means I looked at it and I said, I couldn't do that today. I'm going to move that to tomorrow, or I can totally move that to next week. But that way, what it means that I'm not having just things that fall through the crack that I'm not aware that I'm not doing. And I mean, there are times when I have something on there and I can't do it for whatever reason. Like either I'm very good at doing this. I was delusional when I planned it, and I was like, yeah, I'll have time to do this project and that. And then I realized, oh wait, no, there's just not enough hours in the day, or maybe other things are going on that I didn't plan for, like both kids are sick and I'm not feeling well, and whatever. So sometimes I can't do it, but I don't not do it without knowing it. Like I know, okay, I had to either say I'm not doing this or put this off. So I think just having something that you always go to, so that you don't feel like everything, because you shouldn't keep it all in your brain. Like you don't feel like everything is falling through the cracks. And then the next day, if I plan to do something and I didn't, well, then I'll move it to, whatever day that I did. But I'm not just like, just waking up and being like, oh, I wonder what I might have forgotten today. Like
Yes.
that, I don't know that that works. I don't know, maybe
It's
it works for
funny.
someone, but
It's funny because it's kind of the idea that if you know what you're not doing, you actually feel more confident about what you are doing. It's the type of thing that I think before you're in that situation, it might be like, no, no. Like if I know what I'm not doing, then I'm just going to beat myself up all the time and feel super guilty about it. And I get that. And I have days like that, to be honest, like where it's like, oh man, I really wanted to get more done. But it's a lot worse to not know what you're forgetting. Like, you know that feeling where you're just like, I know there was something that was really important that I was afraid was going to like harm my house, or that if I didn't do this, like something bad was going to happen at work, like I was going to miss a major deadline, and I have no idea what it was. And like it's frustrating to me when I have times where I'm like, oh no, I'm going to really have to cram stuff in next week in order to make this deadline because I didn't get this done today, but I know what I need to cram in. And I think that feeling is still better than this vagueness of I know that I need to do something. And the other thing is, if you know what you need to do at your next opportunity, you can do it. If you don't know what you need to do, you still have to figure out what you need to do before you can ever do it. And you might find out after bad things have already happened. I mean, that's the phrase you use all the time, Laura, that makes me laugh. You're like, I have to do this or bad things are going to happen.
Yes, I do kind of think in those terms. Like, okay, if I plan to pay my bills on Friday, but I wait until Monday, nothing bad happens. But if I put it off for 3 weeks and then I'm going to be late on a bill and I'm going to have a late fee, or they're going to shut off, I don't know, something they shut off when you don't pay the bill, you
Water,
know,
I guess.
yes, I mean, like that would be bad things happening. So yeah, I totally do that. But yeah, I think just knowing what it is you are, like knowing is so much better than not knowing. It's a little hard because I find for myself, I am someone who, my eyes are bigger than my stomach. My dreams are bigger than the time that I have to get it done. They just are. I mean, I have so many things that I enjoy, that I'm involved in, that I want to do. My body puts a lot of limitations on me that I didn't have to deal with like 10 years ago. And having a family puts, other things, considerations and things that take your time. And so, I'm always feeling like, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I had more time, but it's never better not to face it. Like it's always better to just own it and be like, this is exactly what I got done and this is what I didn't, and not even beating yourself up about it, because I have days where I'm on it and I'm like, wow, like I am checking things off the list. I'm uber productive. And then I have days where for no particular reason, I am super unproductive. Like, why did it take me 2 hours to write this, like, 3 paragraph email? Because I rewrote it and then I thought about this and then I worried about this and I went off on this tangent. Then I listened to this, 12-minute voice memo. And then and then I'm like, seriously, all day and I got like 2 things done. And am I happy about that? No, but that is the reality. I mean, if somebody knows of a way to never make that happen, I mean, like I'll be your
You should
test.
be recording a podcast.
Exactly. And I'll be your test subject. But like that is a part of life. And so realizing that that is the case and dealing with the actual realities, I think is so much better. I also am a big fan of using my reminders app. I'm a huge reminders app person, for urgent matters. So it's going to pop up. And, I've talked about this in different places online. I give myself threats in my reminders. I know that sounds kind of scary, but okay. So, for example, let's say that I sign up for Netflix and I want to watch one show and I know that we're never going to watch it again, or at least for a while. So I want to be sure I cancel it in a month, right? Well, okay, so if I just say cancel Netflix, what am I going to do? It's going to pop up and I'm like, snooze, snooze, check it off, whatever, I'll get to it. And then I never get to it. And I paid for like 6 months of Netflix and we never even logged in. And I'm like, why did I just waste $97, But if instead I say cancel Netflix or be charged $17 for something you don't even want, it actually makes me take action. So I love like putting the consequence of not doing it, or schedule dental appointment, or risk, getting worse cavities in your teeth or something. So I will like give myself the motivation to get it done. But I reserve reminders are not popping up 12 times a day for everything I need to do. We're not talking about routine tasks. We're not talking about normal work tasks. We're talking about extra tasks that desperately need to happen. And if I end up moving something on like my to-do list, like from day to day to day, and it really needs to happen, I make it a reminder. Like, we've got to put it in there, because certain tasks, such as phone calls, as we all know, I am particularly averse to. So I have to give myself that extra motivation, or we would never see a dentist or a doctor or anything, or I would never even get my hair cut, because that requires calling and making an appointment.
Yeah. I did want to circle back real quick. I'm going to put a link in the show notes. You have a whole video you've done before on the 3 bucket system. I know we mentioned that
Yes,
really quickly, but that
you
is
did.
like the signature Get Organized HQ system for planning your days. And I know there may be some listening who are like, hey, you like mentioned that and then totally like breezed by it. And I don't know what a 3 bucket system is. Are there literal buckets involved in this planning system? So I'm going to put a link to that video in the show notes, but essentially, it's just a way to categorize your tasks for today so that you can prioritize what is most important, which is just a really it kind of circles back to what we've been talking about here, right? That you know what you're doing, you know what you're tabling, and we're moving forward with that. And I really appreciate what you said about like having unproductive days for no particular reason. And like, can we all just own that we have those days? Because I think the internet is a place that has lots and lots of grace for people who have really busy days with like family emergencies that pop up, right? Or like, oh, my neighbor, needed some help with something and like they needed their car broke down and they needed me to go help them get their prescription. And like it kind of turns us into the hero whenever, we have an unproductive day because like look at all the things I was doing. But like, do you know that I've had flat out unproductive days for no heroic reason whatsoever? Like I was not helping my neighbor go pick up a prescription because their car broke down. I was not saving the day or like investing really heavily in my family. Like I was just not having a productive day. Like I probably was super educated about some like rabbit hole on YouTube. But that's about it. And just acknowledging that we all have these days and they look different. But you can have an unproductive day without a really good excuse for it.
No, I do. I mean, yeah, I definitely do. I mean, there's just so many reasons. A lot of it is like emotional. Like I just can't get
Mhm.
myself involved in the task or something frustrated me or energy levels. So many reasons. And sometimes there are reasons why I might not have a productive day that are like I would say valid, like my
Sure.
kid was sick or somebody needed
I
me.
mean,
Okay.
you weren't also going down the YouTube rabbit hole of, like, some language only 200 people
Oh,
speak in
yes.
a
I I I
Scandinavian
go down
country.
plenty of YouTube rabbit holes, but then there's just times when it's not productive because for no particular reason, and then that's when I get really frustrated. But one thing somebody said, and this is so true, one unproductive day every so often isn't going to make or break you. It's when you string those together.
Mm,
So I really work hard on pulling myself out. And I'm not saying that I've never had an unproductive week or something. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. But I really, really try. If I had a bad day, I'm like, we've got to put extra like safeguards in place tomorrow. Um, so that I don't have so it doesn't become a pattern. Because if I have a pattern, then I'm just life is not going to go well. Like I'm not going to get my work done. I'm not going to get, things done that need it, like kind of need to happen. And I'm not going to feel good about myself because 1 or 2 days of doing less is fine. But I think most of us, if I go many, many days in a row for whatever reason, and I'm not really accomplishing much, I'm going to start to feel worse about myself. And then it's going to be even harder to get up the motivation. So I really try to put extra safeguards in place. Um, the next day, like I give myself very specific goals. I pick a task that I know will be easier to get into positive momentum. Like this is a task. There's certain tasks for me that are like I find easier to do and I get a lot done quickly. So I'm going to pick those. I might even pick a lot of times for me, it's cleaning is a more rewarding task than sitting on the computer and creating stuff on the computer because like you're creating something with your hands or even going on errands to get you out. So I kind of try to safeguard that. And the other thing I will say about like productive and unproductive days is this is something I don't do perfectly, but that is I've really worked on. So, okay, there's two ways to rest and not get anything done. One way is to be like, okay, this is a rough day. I'm going to sit down for the next 2 hours and I'm just going to rest. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to sit outside in the beautiful weather and read a book. Or I'm going to watch a movie. In my case, it would be a cheesy Hallmark movie, but or I'm just going to do this random, like I'm going to alphabetize my spices because that's what I feel like doing. That is one way of resting. And that is it refills you because you said, I'm going to rest. I'm going to set aside my to-do list and I'm going to enjoy myself. But another way of resting is to the whole time be like, okay, in 5 minutes, I'm going to stop scrolling Instagram and I'm going to start get to work. Okay, just another 5 minutes. Okay, oh yeah, I got to watch this YouTube video. But then I'm going to go ahead and, so the whole time you're not really resting. You're feeling bad about it. You're feeling this tug that you're supposed to go do something else. So if you are going to rest, just own it.
Yeah.
Like, just be like, okay, at whatever time it is, or right now, I'm going to rest for the next 2 hours and give myself nothing on the agenda. And if I'm going to rest, I'm going to enjoy it and let it refill my cup, because I feel like the worst thing I can do, and I mean, I know we all do this, is like not planning to rest, but then actually just distracting myself. We're watching random funny reels, and then I'm watching a YouTube video about, how to train horses. I don't have any horses. Like, I mean, and things like this. And then I just end up feeling not refreshed, but I didn't get anything done either.
Yeah, and I think that especially with social media, it's kind of one of those tricky things because we can stop at any time, right? Like if I'm watching reels, this can always be the last one and I can go back to work. But if I own it that I'm going to rest right now and I put on a show or I get on some like decluttering project or organizing project I've really been wanting to do that isn't necessarily like what needs to get done today, but would really be something I'd enjoy doing, like we don't give ourselves the gift of using our time to do the things we actually want to do with our time because we're kind of in this in between where we're not acknowledging that we're taking a break right now. So we can't put our energy towards something that we know is going to force us to take a break. Like if I know it's going to take me 30 minutes to go mix up a batch of cookies because that's what sounds like fun to do right now, I won't let myself do that because I can't stop at any time. But I will let myself spend 45 minutes on Instagram because every reel could be the last one. And so I think that's a really powerful tool that like if you want to rest, if you need to rest, like declare it a moment of rest and do what would be the most fulfilling in that moment. And another thing I was thinking about when you're talking about not stringing the unproductive days together, I literally have my to-do list from the entire week sitting in front of me right now. And like Tuesday, I mean, it wasn't the worst day I've ever had, but like, I mean, I can look at what I checked off my list and I'm like, yeah, that was not like my most productive day ever. Like that was just a way more distracted day. But I think it's so important to not view our lives in day tight compartments of like, was today a success or a failure? And like that dictates whether or not I myself am a success or a failure. Because the funny thing is, Tuesday wasn't the bestest productive day ever, but I got a lot done this week overall. Like if I look at the week as a whole, like totally a success. I'm super excited about some of the projects I got crossed off the list. And so try not to get so stressed about the day type compartment of like, well, how did today go? Because you can have a like, there's nothing to write home about how today went and still have a really great positive week overall.
For sure. I mean, I've had bad weeks and bad months. It doesn't mean the year is,
Yes.
it's just there's just natural ebbs and flows. And the other thing about resting, I want to say, is that I encourage people, if you're going to rest, try to consume longer form content, because I don't know. I mean, you know how much I'm not a short form content person, but I think you're going to find so much more fulfillment in YouTube videos or TV shows or movies rather than a bunch of 3-second reels. I'm not saying you should never, I mean, I look at reels. I've laughed at some of them, I like them. But I mean, I think if you could get yourself into books, podcasts, I find so much more fulfillment in some longer form content than a whole bunch of time spent on reels that are just they're so short and they're just they're not very nuanced. I mean, they can't be like, it's no one's fault. And I just find that I'm so much more inspired and motivated if I get invested in something or really learn what I can learn in a 20-minute YouTube video, or I don't know. So I feel like, I mean, I feel silly saying, but like some of what I do is like, I do much better if I have a TV show I'm watching, because then I'm not mindlessly scrolling Instagram. I'm like, okay, tonight when I have some downtime, I'm going to watch this 20-minute or this 45 minutes of this show. And somehow, I don't know, I just think there's something to be said for, if you are going to be like, entertainment, that's great, but maybe try to make some room for some longer form entertainment.
Yeah. And I can be hard to find. I know, like, it's funny because I've definitely been in the times where I have a show I'm watching and then it ends.
No,
And
I
then
hate
I'm like,
that.
I don't know what to do with myself now.
Yes. It's so sad.
Yes, for sure. So I'm gonna ask this question in the reverse because I know we've actually spent a while here talking about like just some of the struggles of real life routines, right? And I mean, chronic health enters into that, and just changes in your seasons of life enters into that. What are some of the systems, or even just like habits, or like just things you see popping up over and over, right? Sometimes I feel like when we use the word system and habit, we think like it has to be something I'm doing every single day. But like, what are just some of the foundational things you see popping up over and over again in your days, in your weeks, that are helping things to continue to move forward and function?
Yeah, so I think some of the themes that I see um, is like taking imperfect action. I am someone who is a bit of a perfectionist, and it's really hard for me sometimes when I can't do something perfectly well. And I've talked about this a lot. Like, if I'm going to clean the bathroom, I'm going to like get the toothbrush and but I need to do a 70% job. And if I'm working on my health and I'm like, well, I can't eat all 125 grams of protein. Why don't I just go out and get a hot fudge sundae? Well, that's silly. So like doing what I can, or I can't eat healthy 7 days a week, but 5 is better than none. So I'm really been working on, it's always good to take a good action or do a good thing, even if it doesn't mean that you can do it all the time. So I mean, that's just something in the past few years that I have really, really been working on. And okay, this is going to sound silly, but I am someone who, I love creating systems. I love planning. I love creating them. I'm like, this is my happy place. I could be there all day long. I could make you the most elaborate, cool system. But okay, the doing it, that's another problem. Then I start to think I can't do the action without the plan. So like, I need this elaborate cleaning system for my home before I'm gonna like open up this drawer and take everything out and vacuum it out, which would take 5 minutes. Because it's not on the system, but I've been realizing that you can just do things. Like, they don't have to be on the system. So that is something that I've been really, it's hard. I don't know, certain personalities, I think it's just harder than others. But I've been really like working to embrace that. Um, I also think one of the things that I'm not sure whether to call this like, the one of my struggles or one of my strengths. But as you know, I am horrible at multitasking. Like, of every human I know on planet Earth, I cannot do it.
So
Like,
I can attest that Laura is so bad at multitasking that if you try to go on a walk and, just like have a casual conversation about anything, she will end up inadvertently pushing you off the sidewalk because she cannot stay on her half of the sidewalk and talk to you at the same time.
I also struggle with talking and driving. So I'm not like dangerous, but if I'm on like the interstate and we're on a road trip, I will inadvertently slow down a little bit. I don't know why I don't speed up. I slow down. I'm like driving, and then, which I guess is good. Or I would get behind, like you get behind a slow truck, and most people they'd be conversing and be like, oh, I need to go. No, it's going to take me 20 minutes. And then I'll be like, oh, we're behind a slow truck. Maybe I should go. This is why I got a car that partially drives for me. It's been the most amazing thing ever. And, I'm not usually like, my husband is more the one to drive, but like, yes, it's so true that I do not have the gift of multitasking. It's so bad that it's like, I'm not even aware of what's going on. So like, if I am sitting here, talking to Tasha, like say she was here in person and my kid is out there screaming, she's going to have to be like, Laura, should you check on your screaming child? I'm like, oh, that is my kid out there screaming. Like, I just don't have this like awareness of things that are going on around me, and I hyper focus. So this is a pro and a con. But I think in today's society, most people, not myself, but most people could use a little bit more of being able to single task. And one of the things that I didn't realize, like, I always kind of hated this about myself because it's a little bit outside my control. I mean, it really kind of is. I mean, if you're someone who focuses on things, how do you stop focusing? Like, it's a little bit outside my control, and it's not normal, especially for women. And everybody said when I had kids, by the way, my oldest is now almost 11. So it's been many
And
years.
I'm
And they're like,
still getting pushed off the sidewalk,
yeah.
everyone.
They're like, oh, once you have kids, you'll learn. No, I did not. This did not happen to me. And so, it kind of frustrates me, but at the same time, it is a huge gift because I can get so much done. And one of the things, another way that it's a gift is the world can be falling around me and falling apart around me, and sometimes it truly is. Like I'm dealing with incredibly difficult things, you know. um my health is falling apart, like everything is falling apart, but I can sit down and I'm going to do the thing. And also I get a lot more satisfaction out of the things that I do, because if I am washing the dishes, I mean, we are washing the dishes, like nothing else is happening, like we are getting this done, like we are really, it's the gift of deep work. I don't know if there's a book by Cal Newport called Deep Work. It's one of my like top 10 all-time favorite books. Um, and I realized that while I have 1,000 flaws, I think one of my gifts and one of the reasons why I was able to like, get an engineering degree from a really difficult school and like have that job and build this business is because without even realizing it, I was doing deep work really well. Before it was even a thing, I was doing that. I mean, I'm really bad. I'm not proud of this, but I'm really bad at answering notifications. So like if somebody texts me, half the time they're going to get a response and half the time they're not. I don't have any notifications popping up on my phone. Half the time I don't even have my phone with me, like that kind of thing. And so, but I have that gift of being able to really focus on the thing that is in front of me and put all of my heart and soul into it. And there is something that I think is so deeply satisfying about that. And like that book just talks about that. I think we should all just have that gift of, because so many times we're so constantly interrupted, with this thing or that thing or this notification or that notification. And when we can just focus on whether it's like something we're doing for like our work, or even something like when I'm working on my home, if I am like really focused on, cleaning the messy space or reorganizing the pantry or whatever it is, it's so much more satisfying because you can lose yourself in the thing that you're doing. And that's what he talks about in Deep Work, that there's like a special thing that happens. And I think it's kind of what we were made to do. Like we were made for work, not work 24/7, but we were made for work. So whoever you are, wherever you are, you need to find your work.
And I really think it's important too that most character traits, I'm sure there's some exceptions to this. So let me caveat, but I think most character traits have a pro and a con to them, right? And so maybe you're listening to this and you're like, whoa, I'm the opposite. Like I am the multitasker. I'm constantly distracted when I'm trying to do things, but you also might be the person who is able to be involved in multiple things at once, right? And there are benefits to that. And so, not seeing whatever set of personality traits and characteristics that make up you as all good or all bad. Like, oh, like I wish I hadn't been given, this curse of always being distracted. Well, like, how can you take that and say, here are the benefits of that? Like, here is how I can use this to my advantage, to the advantage of my family, to the advantage of the work that I'm doing. And then also acknowledging, because if you're like, Laura, I'm really good at deep work, but I'm really bad at multitasking, like, how can I at least be aware of the limitations that are there and just acknowledging that everyone has them. They might be different, and it's really easy to look at other people and see their strengths and think that they have strengths only. But some people are probably just better at masking the weaknesses than, but everyone has them, is what I'm trying to say. And I think everyone has things that they're naturally good at as well. And so finding what that is and how to make that work for you in your day.
Yeah, and
So
just learning what is, what is your strength. And then I think as I've gotten older, learning not to hate myself for it. Because when I was younger, I think I just hated myself for all the ways I was different. I was also a total nerd. Always have been, always will be. I hated that when I was in high school. That's not cool. But now, I even tell my kids, I'm like, when they complain about being different, I'm like, mommy was really different too. But you know what? Now I have this like huge business that I wouldn't have had I not been a total nerd. So now I'm happy and glad that I was different. That's just one small example, but I think just learning to embrace whatever makes you you, and learning to deal with it, because you are always going to have to step outside your natural abilities at times. Like me being not a morning person, sometimes I'm going to have to get up at 4 a.m. and get on a plane or something. Okay, of course, like you're going to have to operate outside yourself, and just knowing this is a little bit of a challenge, but I can do this. But also just realizing like this is how I am, and learning to work with it instead of against it, and just having an appreciation. Like I think what changed everything is somehow as I got older, instead of seeing those things as a liability, I started seeing them as like an asset, like as something that would help me. And I started appreciating the differences about me instead of like trying to fight them all the time. And I think that just makes me feel so much more like I have nothing to hide, and this is who I am, and that's okay. I don't know. I just kind of feel like, I mean, I know that's a little
Oh,
philosophical,
sure.
but yeah, I mean, I think that's something that can be really helpful. And that's something I try to think about helping my kids to do as well, which, the whole mothering journey is an entirely, different journey, but that is something that I look for, in my kids to help them, bring out their strengths and to try to help cultivate that appreciation for their differences at as early age as I can, realizing that they're still going to be kids and they're still going to, they're still kids, but, we work on that.
Yeah, for sure. So, the question that I ask pretty much everyone as the last question of their interview about their day in their life is, what is one thing that's bringing you less stress and more peace right now?
Wow. Okay. Less stress and more peace right now. Okay. I'll tell you what it is. So, I've been in I don't know, I guess I would say a low place the last couple months. I mean, really this year, has not been the best year. Oddly, I feel like even years go well for me and odd years tend to go less well. But there's been so many things. I've had more health challenges, more other challenges, this, that, and the other thing. I've been pretty overwhelmed. And one of the struggles is, and this is kind of frustrating, is the more overwhelmed I get, the harder it is to be productive, but the more I need to be productive, you know. And so I have just been really struggling to get into that deep work, and then I get really frustrated, depressed. It's a bad. So what I realized is, is that I needed to give myself a list of things that I was going to do non-negotiably for no matter what. So I made a list. I made a checklist.
You made a
I
system, would you say?
You could call it a system. I gave myself a time limit, 77 days. Don't ask me why. Um, and then, okay, this is going to sound even weirder. Okay, so I realized, okay, I can sit here, I came up with a list of things. I can tell you what it is. It's reasonable, but like, so I made the list. And then I was like, but I'm not going to do this list. I mean, like you could make a list, but like I need to actually do it, right? So I did two things. First of all, I wrote excuses. So valid reasons why I would not need to do these things. I'll tell you what the things are. It's like 7,000 steps a day, 10 minutes of strength training at a minimum, 5 times a week, logging all of my food, prepping my food in the morning, cleaning the main area completely before I go to bed, and putting away one load of laundry. So these are things I'm going to do every day except Sundays. Okay, this is reasonable, but it's not nothing, like, okay, so, but I just like, I mean, even just having the house a mess is such a stressor, right? So I'm like, I need to do these things. So I committed to do these things. Then the excuses are ER visit or hospitalization for myself or immediate family. I mean, like, I really thought this through. Nausea, like vomiting or fever for myself would get me out of it. Traveling, so going to bed or waking up not at home. I mean, I was really, really specific. Like, there's no ambiguity. I can't say, well, I'm leaving on a trip tomorrow, so I don't have to do this today. It's waking up or going to bed. I put something about natural disasters, loss of electrical power for more than 2 hours. Like, I got really specific, okay? Because, like, I know myself, and here's what's going to happen. It's going to be late at night. I'm not going to feel like washing the last few dishes. I'm going to be tired. I've got a headache. All this stuff. And then I'm going to be like, well, I have a headache. So surely that, gets me up. So that's why I had to write it down. I took it one step further. Okay. I cannot believe I'm saying this publicly. Okay. Do not go looking for this. But I knew I needed accountability. I wasn't going to put it on like, I mean, I just feel silly
Well,
about
you
it.
just told the whole world. So,
Yes. Okay. But, so I put it on an old Instagram that I have not used in years that I have like 3 followers on. No one has actually seen it, but like I put it, like I'm doing a daily check-in video and I'm uploading it there. And that is keeping me accountable because in theory, someone could find it.
well, now we all know, and we can go hunting for your
Oh,
daily
you're
check-in.
not going to find it. I'm going to hide it really well because the reason why do I not want people to find it? I don't know. I'm just embarrassed that I have to do this to myself to even get myself to like clean my house every day. Like this is the links I have to go through. And then also my videos are terrible. Like I showed up with no makeup. Like I yesterday I filmed right after I'd been crying, and part of it is for myself because I want to go look back and be like, Laura, you were really, really sad and you couldn't stop crying. And the last thing you want to do was get up and do anything, but you did it anyway. And by the end of the day, you felt so much better. And I'm just really struggling with that right now of like getting going because I'm so discouraged about some things that I can't control that are truly discouraging. But I need to know that like what I need to do is get started and do it anyway. So like I guess I'm kind of doing it for myself too. But since I look so terrible, I'm like I would be mortified if anyone found this. So my secret hope is that one stranger will find it and follow along to hold me accountable. So I don't know. This is a really strange confession. I wasn't planning on sharing this,
The
but I mean,
truth comes out.
you got to do what you got to do. And I'm not saying everybody needs to do something that elaborate, but sometimes I think the point is having a small minimum set of I do this no matter what.
Mhm.
You know, and I've talked a lot about how many years ago I did the clean sink challenge, and that was just so helpful. That meant every day before I go to bed. It was right when I had a newborn and like things were crazy. And I'm like, no matter what, I need to get the dishes cleaned every night because that's a first domino. Because when I wake up and the kitchen is a mess, the dishes are a mess, then I don't want to eat a healthy breakfast, and then I don't do that, and then it just snowballs. So those first domino habits are so important. And so I just have to have non-negotiables that I do no matter what. And then I'm bad at following through. Like, let's just be honest. I'm really good at talking myself out of things, all sorts of excuses. And I just need, not everyone needs this, but I need the black and white of like, you're either doing this or there can be no gray areas. So if that's what I need, and like I am feeling already better because now I know that I'm never going to walk into a total disaster zone, and it's already like improved my mood and like made me feel better. So, but I think, yeah, that's the point is if you need non-negotiables, do that. And if you need accountability, do that. Because sometimes that's what it takes to really get it done.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm so glad you shared. And now I think we're gonna have a bunch of people going stalking Instagram, seeing if they can be your one
Oh, that would
follower.
be awesome if you find that old account. Oh
Yes,
my
if you
goodness.
find it, you have to comment and let her know that you found it off of our podcast. So we'll wrap it up there. But thank you, Laura, just for sitting down and talking through this and talking about the fact that life is not always glamorous and it's not always super smooth sailing, all of the things you see on Instagram, but strategies that can help keep going every day, checking a few things off the list, even on rougher days. So thanks for sharing your time with us today.
Thanks.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Get Organized HQ podcast, and I'll see you for our next episode next week.